Welcome to Veteran Talk here on Sparks 1524. I'm Nathaniel Miller. This is a late one. I've actually never done a video this late before. It's going on 10 o'clock here. It's Monday, March 14th, Pi Day 314. Not sure exactly where to go or what to do with this one, but definitely thought there's some. I honestly don't know if I've ever been officially diagnosed with PTSD, but I sure know I'm dealing with it. I've talked a little about this before, and I finally settled here in the Emerald Duck, my little townhouse here in Florida. House is done. I mean, I moved in October when my house. I bought it in September, moved in October, got through all the holidays, running back and forth between Florida and Tennessee and everything, and now life is kind of settling out, and I'm starting to explore volunteer opportunities around here. Get out of the house and not just sit here writing novels and doing columns and videos for all 4 or 5 people that subscribe. One of the things I've talked about is trying to find a community, a support community of veterans. This is definitely not an easy one because one of my great strengths is obviously I'm a very outgoing person. I was a great instructor while I was in the Navy because I can get up in front of a room and start talking. That's why I'm a good writer, because I think I've got something good to say and I'm darn well going to get it out to the world. Here I am on YouTube trying to build a small following. Being out in the public eye is not an easy thing. People criticize you. Some are well meaning and give good constructive criticism. Some are just vicious, but you got to be able to deal with it. That strength is actually becoming one of my greatest weaknesses because it has really hit me lately how superficial my interactions have become under a guise of being very legitimate and real, but how much I'm keeping people pushed away, and even how numb I'm actually become to a lot of things, while at the same time finding my world contracting ever so more here into my little house. We all went through hell with all the bullshit during the pandemic, and we know more is probably coming because, oh my God, it's a virus and it's seasonal and it's going to come back like the flu does every year. But for over a year, I was literally in solitary confinement in Washington State, being a single guy living alone, working from home. I was very much in survival mode during all that, also because of some issues at work when I was working at Keyport that I had to take up with higher authority. And if those issues with toxic leadership hadn't happened, I'd probably still be working there. But I had to go into survival mode again, and then like with the pandemic, and I got through it all, got through the move down here, and now I'm here. And now life is finally slowing down, but I'm coming into this with 20 years worth of baggage from the Navy. And then what happened in Washington State, and what was supposed to be a good little coda to my career, ended up being yet another fight for professional survival. I've also talked about the fact that many times I have reached out to PTSD support groups and been told very politely, very compassionately, and very definitively, I'm the wrong kind of veteran. You see, I've only got 2 issues that might stem from combat related issues. The first was when I was serving on board USS Carl Vinson. I was with VF 213. There was one night we thought we actually had a missile inbound to the ship, and we were all scrambling to get below, off the flight deck, everything you'd see in the movies. We were having to do it. At the last second, it all got shut down because it turned out to be one of our own F-18s coming back. Their electronics had gotten completely foobarred. They had no way to contact the ship, so all the radar showed was an inbound, fast-moving projectile. It was one of our own aircraft. But because that was one of our own aircraft and it wasn't actually a missile, I've been told by everybody except a World War II vet that that's nothing, just blow it off. Well, it's a World War II vet, a Marine vet who'd had his best friend shot next to him on a beach and been wounded 3 times in that war. The third wound is what finally took him out of the war. Who actually told me that no, that was a real thing and it was going to stick with me. And actually, that was back in 2004. I talked to him, and that was the night. That day, I had no more nightmares about that event. The other, of course, was when I was on board USS Ponce, and we got significantly swarmed by Iranians who, as I never been through that before, it scared the living shit out of me, even though I didn't, still did my job as a ship's photographer, making sure I was documenting everything. But yeah, I was told that no, they were unduly aggressive that night, even for them. But because it was just the Iranians, they do that to everybody. Oh, that's not real. I've been told that. I was assaulted in the workplace 3 times, twice on Guam in the photo lab, once on board Ponce. All 3 times the Chiefs were involved. First time I was assaulted by a fellow second class who didn't like the fact I was the LPO and not him. He outweighed me by 100 pounds, actually tackled me, ran me into a room and locked me in and cut the phone line. I had to break the window to get out. Got to headquarters, reported to our senior chief, and was promptly told I need to learn to listen to people and put right back in the work center. I didn't have near the chutzpah, the awareness, or anything to do anything other than just, yes, senior chief, and go back to work. Didn't occur to me to walk over to the JAG office, which was right next door to the senior public affairs office, and file a complaint. Later, we had a new chief come in to the photo lab, and he went ballistic on us, got in my face, yelling, screaming, backing me up against the thing, pounding me in the chest, spitting on me, which, ow, that would hurt. That was a little too energetic, but sorry, that constitutes simple assault, but it's assault, and that's my boss doing it to me. And I'm having to stand up and having to get on the USS Ponce. I had a senior chief burst into a first class meeting, do the exact same thing to me over an issue in the berthing that I was trying to work out with some of our berthing and other departments who we shared the berthing space. My senior chief was in the room, literally hiding in the corner like this. I had more balls to take as a first class taking on a senior chief than my senior chief did. And that's just those 3 things. Building I was in on Guam was demolished during a super typhoon while me and 5 other people were sheltering in it. It's not like we could go anywhere. Uh, our commanding officer on the Ponce, and Etta Jones, and she's in the news. It's not like I'm slandering anybody. She was convicted or found guilty at Admiral's Mast of extraordinary misconduct. She hazarded the ship a few times. Once when I was on the flight deck photographing the landing of a helicopter, she turned the ship, almost threw the helicopter and all of us in the ocean. It was a schizophrenic command climate to the point where, as the public affairs guy, I got an email from her 7 months in, yelling at me to stop making changes to the cruise book layout and get her something so she could sign it because she was sick of this game. The very next paragraph gives me a whole long laundry list of changes she wants made. That's what we're living with until she pulled a gun on somebody during a hilariously mishandled security alert. That's what got the IGs on board. And while the IGs were on board, I discovered she tried to throw me under the bus. She intimated to them that I was the one who was misappropriating MWR funds. Little fun fact that she didn't know was that I didn't handle money because, as a one-man band, being the entire media center for the ship, I had already told them I'm not handling any money for the cruise books. The MWR committee will handle the funding and all of that because I got my hands full doing the actual production. But when you're sitting there in front of a couple investigators, a lieutenant and a lieutenant commander, and you're first class, and you know they're there to investigate the captain, they start asking you questions about how you handle money. You got to realize said captain tried to throw you under the bus, apparently. But I'm not the right kind of veteran because this shit didn't happen during combat. Yeah, by the way, I'm a little angry. It's finally all starting to bubble out because now that I'm finally at a point here in Pensacola where things are slowing down and I can focus on being a novelist, being a blogger, getting involved in the community with volunteer work, I'm not in survival mode anymore. And I don't know where to go. I don't know who to talk to. I also have the dubious distinction of having really bad luck when I do need help. I'm the guy that the clinic forgot to call, let him know his own psychiatrist died. Real true story. I go for an appointment with my counselor. I shouldn't say psychiatrist. My counselor in Norfolk back in 2012, just before deployment. I get the week before, got the usual phone call. Patty Miller, this is the clinic. Yep, it's confirming your appointment. So Dr. So and so. Yep, I got the call the day before the appointment. The same thing. And I mean, the clinic staff was great about calling us to make sure we verified appointments. Day before I get a call that, yeah, we got this appointment with Dr. So and so. So I go in there and find out that, wait, he died 2 days before. Yet they called me the day before, the day after the man died, to confirm my appointment. To say I was in a really bad headspace, because this was one of the best counselors I ever had. Is a brilliant man. To say I was not in a good place when I got home was an understatement. I was married at the time, and my wife asked me what happened while I was home early, and I just couldn't talk. I was looked at her, I just started laughing almost hysterically, sat down on the stairs, and it's like, it took me half an hour to tell her what happened. Well, we get in the car to go to Portsmouth to the Naval Hospital to the psychiatry department for two reasons. One, I was not in a good place. And two, why the hell are they calling somebody to tell him he has an appointment when the man is dead? And it wasn't a robocall, it was a personal call. We get in the car, and right as we're about to pull out, she gets a text from a friend who's in the middle of an emergency. And she's looked at me and said, when we got married, you told me every time you need help, something comes up with somebody else and you get shafted. I thought you were feeling sorry for yourself. She's looked and she said, but what we'd seen during our marriage, and right to that moment, she always, no, every time you need help, something comes up and somebody shoves you to the side. She made a difficult decision, but what I'm grateful for, that she called her friend and said, look, I've got another issue here with my husband. We've got to take care of this. I will call you back. We got to Portsmouth. And so, one, I'm very grateful. And by the way, for the record, we're divorced, but we are great friends. Should never have been married. It happens. Uh, we got to Portsmouth, and I'm really doing my best to be on my best behavior because I'm furious as well as in shock. But now I'm in the psychiatry department, and I need to not go ballistic because these people will probably put me in a padded cell for a while. And I'll miss the ship's movement that was coming up. Uh, but I'm shocked when I sit down. I talk to the receptionist. What happened? Who I was? What happened? She's like, "Oh, okay. Well, hang on. She got. I forgot who she got. It was one of the higher ups in the department. A civilian female comes out. Professor Miller. Hey, we go back and talk. And I'm really upset. And this woman is just kind of closed off. And I'm like, I asked her, ma'am, have you heard a word I said? I'm sorry. I just don't do well with emotional people. And she has to leave the room. I saw one hell of a complaint on that. I'm like, one, what is somebody like that who can't handle emotional people doing in a mental health department? Two, she leaves the room and just leaves me sitting there, doesn't do anything, doesn't address it, doesn't send anybody else in to talk to me, just left, just abandoned me. Another one just happened. I actually did find a PTSD support group here in Pensacola that was getting geared up. Signed up with them, was talking with the leader, and he's a fellow veteran. And pardon me for looking down a lot. Clearly this isn't my best video. Anyway, the group was supposed to start this month, and crickets. Just crickets. Contact the guy, nothing. Contact the guy, nothing. Finally, he gets back in touch with me that he was in the hospital from a really bad PTSD episode and had just gotten out. And it's like, okay, hey, full sympathy on one level here because, I'm dealing with the same thing. On another level, though, I am so isolated. I am so angry and bitter at being shafted, at being told I'm not the right kind of vet. We're so sorry. We're set up for combat vets. Maybe you can find help somewhere else. It's like, there is no fucking help elsewhere. That's the problem. Not everybody got shot at, but not everybody had their life threatened only by an enemy shooting at them. I had a fucking commanding officer hazarding our ship. Fucking typhoon blew a building off over my head. I had to defend myself from 3 chiefs. Shit like that. I've entered into a vicious cycle where I'm isolating myself because I don't trust people. I've been too hurt, too injured, too many times by people who were supposed to be protecting me, guarding my back, mentoring me, instead turning on me. That I just don't trust people. I'm pushing people away, and I did just actually. There's a couple of national PTSD programs I just emailed about what I'm looking for. And I could not stop myself. Those emails became these long screeds listing all the shit that happened and why and what's all the shit happened, including the just the rage of being told so many times you're the wrong kind of vet. Sorry, bye bye. And like a lot of vets, a big sense of helplessness right now because I just retired back in 17, and not 4 years later, look what's happening over in Europe. That doesn't mean that our country will get into a direct war. God, I hope not. But the worst of it is the recognition that even if the Navy was looking for volunteers to expand because things were starting to light off, The worst is realizing I'm not in a condition to go back into uniform if my country needed me. I think that's what's really triggered this level of angst right now. This why this for me is coming to a head right now in such a dramatic fashion, because God forbid if we do end up in a shooting war, please no. But I'm not in a condition to put back on a uniform. And also an increasing distrust of people, because everybody I'm supposed to be able to trust didn't just let me down, they betrayed me. Everybody who took an oath to protect the sailors under them turned on me. Yes, there were good officers, good chiefs, and other petty officers. That's one way I survived. But the damage done by the bad ones, for the record, before anybody worries, no, I'm not about to harm myself. As I've said before in mental health columns on Sparks 1524 and other veteran talks, I have used the Veterans Crisis Line in the past. Straight up, last time I used it was 3 days after I got to Washington State. I got there the night of January 6th, 2019. I started my new job at Keyport January 7th. That was a Monday. So much happened so fast. I was just so stressed that on Wednesday night, January 9th, 2019, I called the crisis line from the hotel. I was that stressed. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm gonna lie, it's a little embarrassing to admit. I'll still admit to those feelings, but I'll admit it. I call them because I needed help, and I will do it again if I have to. Like I said, when I'm not in danger of hurting myself, that's not going to happen. I actually have come to a point where I like myself too much, and my pain tolerance is very low. I'm a wuss. One of the groups I wrote to tonight, I told them straight up, one of the only reasons I'm doing this, admittedly, is because I don't have any faith in them. I don't believe anybody's actually going to reach out and say, "Oh, hey, here's a group, here's a program we can, that would welcome you in." It's more of the mechanical roteness, so I can look in the mirror tomorrow morning and know that at least I did what I could to stay in command of my life and my mental health, and not reaching out for help is not a good idea, even for me, as much as I distrust it, as angry as I am. Yeah, I might get lucky. This might change, but the problem is I am so distrustful that I said I've actually realized I'm numb. I am so I've gotten so good at acting normal, at acting upbeat, at putting on that facade because it's what I had to do to survive. And then as the first class and the chief later on, that was my job, because I had to keep the sailors below me motivated and make sure they knew I was approachable and all that. This isn't a case of I don't know who I am anymore. I know exactly who I am. I know who Nathaniel is. I am Nathaniel Miller. I know who I am. I know what I want. I know where I'm going. This is about being able to live free and healthy as possible, and I am definitely not doing that. Free? Oh, yeah. Healthy? It's an illusion. First off, to our brothers and sisters who have earned their PTSD wounds in combat, I'm taking nothing away from you at all. Your country called and you answered, and a lot of you also got treated like shit by the same country. But I am reaching out to all those who might be wrestling with issues that were like mine, largely generated from non combat issues, but ones that still threatened your lives. And nobody was there to back you up. You had to do it all on your own. You had enemies on all sides in the same uniform as you. All I can tell you is what I know is that it's just as real. The stars are just as real. The impact is just as real. I have to psych myself up to go to the freaking commissary to buy food. I have to psych myself up to run down the street to Walmart or to go to Starbucks to go right so I can get out of the house for a little while. I have walls closing on me more and more, and I can't stop them because I can't do it alone. you have listened this long, whether or not you're resonating with me or you're just like, oh my God, this guy's a train wreck happening in front of me. Hey, either way, thank you for listening, especially almost 30 minutes in. Clearly, I'm in a lot of pain and I'm trying to stop pretending otherwise while at the same time not giving up because I do have things to live for. It's just increasingly difficult to do the living part. But I'm not. I attempted suicide once back in 1998. I don't want to go there again, ever. And I know I'm not going to. But I'm still struggling to find a way to go forward more healthy and plugged in with other veterans who've been through similar things. And so far, that's been a losing game. But I'm not giving up. And look, if you're out there and you're wrestling like I am, or you're in a worse place, whether you're a combat vet or or your issues come like mine from other issues, all I can say is don't give up. There has got to be a way forward. There always has to be a way forward. But if you are in crisis, please do use the Veterans Crisis Line. I've linked it below in the description. Uh, or, of course, 911 is always an option. But there's a way forward. And as I learn more, so hopefully maybe I start finding some success, I'll be glad to share it. But I got to get through this. If for no other reason than there is absolutely no chance I'll ever have a relationship with anyone again, romantically, specifically in this case, if I don't get a handle on this, if I don't and to get a handle on it, I need help. And that's what I'm seeking. For every no, though, every time the door's shut, I'm not going to give up because if the best I can do in my life is to keep striving to find help, at least I'm doing something. But emotionally, I feel like, well, we've all seen those rooms, those crowded sheds or crowded rooms where you walk in the room and you got like, the storerooms where you got like 2 feet of space to walk into and you're supposed to put something away in there, but there's no room to even lift your arms up because it's so crowded already. How are you supposed to pick up this box to put it up there when you can't even do anything but walk like this? That's what it feels like inside. I got no room to do anything anymore because there's so much pain, so much anger, so much rage, so much fear. So, again, if you stayed with me this long, thank you very much. You're not alone. I know I'm not. I will. Well, anyway, again, if you're in a crisis, please use the Veterans Crisis Line. It's linked below in the description or call 911 if you need help immediately. Otherwise, you know, keep going forward, doing what you can, just like I will. Thanks. Night.